My name is Candice and Moraga, and it's sort of hard to see with the lighting in here, but I'll try and give you some better close-ups. I'm here with another installment in my Diabolical Laboratory series, and today I'm going to be conducting an experiment on the chromatography of food dyes. I've got a little setup over here. Now, this is a sort of temporary digs here. Again, I was getting a little crazy in my other laboratory from my last video, a little bit of gunshots. So I decided to set up a laboratory in a hotel here. Now, before you judge, Tesla actually did quite a bit of work in his hotel room at the Waldorf Astoria. So a lot of science can be done in a hotel room. As you can see here, I've got a beautiful setup. I've got my charts set up for observations on my laptop. I've got a little tray here with a variety of food dyes. I haven't opened up any dyes yet, so no need for gloves at this point, only been working with a little salt water. But I've got, these are closed right now, blue dye number 1, a blue dye number 2, red dye number 3, red number 40, yellow number 5, yellow number 6. And then I've got some M&Ms. I'm going to be using a red M&M, yellow, green, and blue. And I've got an unknown vial here, which I should be able to determine using my chromatography. I've also gotten some great value trademark store brand food colorings here. Red, yellow, green, and blue. You'll notice that I chose for simplicity's sake the same colors of the M&Ms. And it will be interesting to see if the M&Ms use just one dye per color, or if they've got some interesting variations. I'm thinking the green has to be some sort of combination of the red and yellow, but there are a couple different reds and yellows, so we don't know which ones probably. I've got a variety of toothpicks, which I'll be taking samples here. I've got a great packet of Flavor Aid. They didn't have great Kool-Aid in my neighborhood store, and I was surprised to find Kool-Aid, but they didn't have strawberry, they only had cherry. Most of the flavors they have in the neighborhood are like tamarind, Jamaica, piña, and they don't have many of these green love flavorings. So I was actually amazed I could find grape and cherry there. So those are going to be the ones that I'm going to be using. And to get the dye off of the M&Ms, I'm going to use some of this distilled water, which I smuggled over here, and just drop on there and use a toothpick to get some of the dye off. And the other vials I can just open, but with the Flavor Aid and the Kool-Aid, I'm just going to drop a drop of water on the powders to get the dye off of there. I've got a solvent here, which is a salt water, which I made sure the salt dissolves. So I have a polar solvent there, which is important because most food dyes are polar. So in order for this experiment to work, they both have to be polar. And I've got some filter papers here, which I used my little ruler, and a pencil. Not a pen, because a pen has colorings, different dyes, and so that would mess with the experiment. So it had to be a pencil. And I've got these little filter papers. If you can see, the lighting in here is terrible. I've got all the lights on. But they're 7 centimeters high by 14 centimeters. And what I did was I drew a little line at the bottom, a centimeter from the bottom, and then I made 9 demarcations 1.5 centimeters apart. And I marked R, Y, G, B, MR, MY, MG, MB, and UK to represent my store dyes, the red, yellow, green, blue, and then the M&M, red, yellow, green, blue, and then the unknown. And then on the other filter paper, I marked it up the same way, And I put for the vials of food colorings B1, B2, R3, R40, Y5, Y6, and then I skipped one and put AG for the aid, because it's Flavor Aid and Kool-Aid, AG for the grape, and then AS. Oh wait, that should be C for cherry because they didn't have strawberry, so we'll put C for the cherry there. Let me make sure I have it on the chart. I like to be, yes I did. I try to stay very organized with my charts and everything because, uh-oh, please come in, let me get something on there. Well, this is just a little experimental error. I don't know if some blush or lip gloss or powder or something went awry. But in any event, that will represent the blue 1, blue 2, red 3, red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, and then the AIDS, like I said. Now, what I'm going to do is use the toothpicks to take little samples and make a little dot in each of the areas there. And then I'm going to let them dry a little bit, and I'm going to turn them into little cylinders, trying not to overlap. I've got tape for assistance purposes here. My scissors ready to go. I've got staples, a stapler that I can staple my little cylinders. And then what I've got is a little petri dish here, set up. And I filled it about a half a centimeter from the bottom with the solvent, which is the salt water. Polar, remember. So what I'm going to do when I have my cylinders is I'm going to dip them from the bottom into the solvent. And then what that should do is it should draw it upwards, being careful to make sure that the solvent is below the dye lines, because otherwise then the dye will go down into the water. We want it to go up. And then I'm going to measure the distances it should separate. There's going to be a distance where the solvent front goes up and then a distance where the dye goes up. And if there's multiple color dyes, they'll separate. And then what I can do is do some computations based on those distances to figure out what exact dyes are in there. So I should have some very diabolical results, and finally I get to play with colors again, yay. I'm going to take the camera and show you how my initial setup looks, since I don't know if you could see from there. Okay, so here we have the little tray. See, all my different colorings are set up nicely with my M&M, and I already know how I'm going to have everything set up. My Kool-Aid, that's the water that I'll be making samples, and then that's my solvent, the salt water, my M&M bag, my petri dish, ruler, my little filter papers, and I've got my charts for observation set up, the gloves and goggles ready to go, all my supplies. So here we have all of our little dots done up now, and I'm letting them dry. Got my little dots. And now we see I've got little cylinders here. And now I'm going to set it into the petri dish for a few minutes. And let dyes dissolve upwards. Look how cool, some of the dyes are separating into two different colors. I personally think that is awesome. So now we see the solvent rising. You might notice some pinkish stuff there on the other side of the cylinder. There seems to be a lot of pink. And I think it's because when I opened up this Kool-Aid packet, I inhaled what seemed like a cloud of this stuff. So could be a little percent error as far as that stuff just seemed to be in the air and like everywhere. And I think it may have gotten on this filter paper. So you see a bunch of pink stuff that you couldn't really see just looking at the filter paper, but I was inhaling it surely. But look how cool that looks. The conclusions of this experiment were somewhat interesting. According to my little cylinders, in my store-bought dye, The green separated into yellow and blue, as should be expected, but strangely, the blue separated into a red and a blue. The M&M ones, I didn't get very good samples on those. Some of them look somewhat inconclusive, but the blue didn't seem to separate. I mean, I had so much red from that Kool-Aid dust, it was strange. But the unknown very definitely separated into a red and a blue. Grape separated into a red and a blue, just like my unknown. The cherry was just a straight red, very bright red, like the red 3 looked like. It's sort of like the red 3 is almost more of a fuchsia color. The blue 2, it strangely looked more like a yellow type of solution. It didn't show up too well on the filter paper. The yellows are harder to see, but the reds and the blues turned out a little bit better. And these are my little cylinders here. They're still sort of drying, but I marked the tops of the solvent flow with a pencil. So I'm going to do my little calculations and draw up my lab report. But I did get a good idea of how the food dyes separate out. It was fun and cool to watch it happen. And I hope you enjoyed my diabolical laboratory. Peace out.